guys. I know. It's been a very long time, and I owe you an explanation and an apology, but we are back. We are live tonight, as we always are every year, for my personal Super Bowl, the State of the Union address, which they're actually not calling the State of the Union this year. They're calling it a joint address to Congress. I can't remember, maybe it's just my pregnancy brain talking, if that's what they always call the first State of the Union after the president is inaugurated, just because it's not a true State of the Union address yet. They haven't been in office very long. Needless to say, SOTU/joint address is happening tonight on Capitol Hill. In just a few minutes, we are going to be rebroadcasting the speech for you, and I could not be more excited to share the insane amount of accomplishments that this president has managed to get done in about a month, react to it from a youth perspective, and give you guys our thoughts on where America goes forward from here. Before we jump into any of that, hi, it's great to see all of you again. As you can tell, we're not in our normal home studio setup, and we haven't been for the last few weeks. I've gotten lots and lots of questions from every single one of you. So here in just a minute, we are going to be doing a move reveal. We are going to be doing an update on all things life. We are going to tell you a little bit more about our family growing and what this has been like over the past couple of weeks. And I'm going to let you know the plan for the rest of the show tonight. I love you guys all so very much. Welcome back to the Isabel Brown Show, and get psyched for all of the lore I am about to drop on you this evening. So it's State of the Union night. As you guys know, we are live right now. This segment of the live stream is not currently live. I pre-recorded this earlier in the day because as we speak right now, I am rushing back from Capitol Hill to get back to where I am staying for this evening, because I was actually invited by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson's office, to come with only 2 other content creators this evening to Statuary Hall, which, if you've ever watched the State of the Union before, this is the hallway, the big round room that everyone is walking through to get to the actual House of Representatives chamber where the speech will be delivered tonight. If you've seen the videos on TV, as we watch every single year here on the Isabel Brown Show and we live react to, when members of Congress are walking through and the members of the Supreme Court of the United States are walking through, and eventually the cabinet and the President of the United States are walking through, and all of the TV cameras are clamoring there, and everybody's trying to get interviews, and it's just crazy and fun and incredibly high energy. That is where I am standing this evening. You guys will probably already have seen, by the time we are live with this broadcast, some videos on my Twitter and my Instagram and my TikTok about that this evening, but I am just so incredibly grateful for the invitation from Speaker Mike Johnson's office to be one of 3 content creators covering this evening. I did not secure a seat inside of the actual House of Representatives chamber. Getting one of those is actually harder than getting a ticket to the Super Bowl, but we're just incredibly honored to be able to cover it. And actually, I'm glad, because that means I can come back and live react to the speech with you guys here very, very shortly. So I am racing traffic, racing against the clock to try to get back here. When the speech does start, if I'm not actually back live quite yet, we will start the rebroadcast through C-SPAN, and then you'll see my little face pop up in the corner as soon as I am, in fact, back. So have no fear. It is A-okay. It's March 4th. We haven't put out an episode of the Isabel Brown Show or done a live stream in the last couple of weeks because a whole lot has been going on in the personal life of myself and my husband and our family. And I want to just catch you guys up for a few seconds before we jump into everything you can expect out of tonight. We moved. I told you guys that we were moving out of Florida, and the timeline for that was really unexpected. It ended up being a bit sooner than we were expecting for all of the right reasons. And I totally forgot to tell you where we moved, which is hilarious. So spoiler alert, cat's out of the bag. We moved to the Washington, D.C. area to be boots on the ground and front and center on the front lines of this new taking back of the American dream, appropriate since that's the theme of the speech tonight, that we are seeing from the Trump administration and from all of the incredible people on Capitol Hill, in the judicial system, and culturally here in our nation's capital, to build a country that we are proud to call home again. I have been given amazing opportunities already in the first couple of weeks of this new presidential administration to cover pretty much anything and everything. You guys probably already saw on my Instagram last week, I had the incredible, mind-blowing, unexpected privilege of meeting with the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and the Vice President, J.D. Vance, in the Oval Office during the workday. Also had a chance to meet many of our new cabinet secretaries, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, RFK, Marco Rubio. Sat down with Caroline Leavitt, my wonderful dear friend, who actually coincidentally interned with me in 2018 in the Trump White House, way back when, and now is kicking ass as the youngest press secretary in American history. I'm so excited for you guys to see everything that she has been up to in the next couple of weeks. And we have a whole lot more up our sleeve for everything planned until baby girl gets here, and we're working our tails off. So I have quite literally been running around like a chicken with my head cut off because so many people are moving to DC and there's not a lot on the rental market. We have been living in an Airbnb temporarily / indefinitely for the last month and a half or so. We still have several more weeks to go until we get into a permanent place. So I've been working on a very limited setup for all of our short form content, but that obviously has made long form content a bit difficult to film podcast wise and live stream wise, but no matter, it's okay. This is grassroots. This is the creme de la creme of true authentic content where I don't even have a mic stand. We're working off of a laptop that the fan is screaming at me for right now because this is not a streaming PC. We've got a camera set up on a tripod in the guest bedroom of this Airbnb. We're making it work, but I was not about to miss the State of the Union with you guys because this is easily my favorite thing that we live react to every single year, and I have it on pretty amazing authority what's going to be talked about tonight, which will blow your mind. So, surprise, we moved to DC. A lot of people have speculated that maybe this was also because of a change of job situation for my amazing husband, Brock, and we are not making any formal announcements about that, but he does have some amazing opportunities here in DC that we can't wait to share more with you in the future. Just a long process dealing with all of that. And as of now, because it's been a while since I've given you an update, I am 31 weeks pregnant tomorrow. So baby girl is huge. I am struggling. I feel like Gloria the hippopotamus from Madagascar. I feel huge. Everyone keeps telling me I look so tiny for my 3rd trimester of pregnancy. I do not feel tiny, okay? I don't really sleep at night, so that's also been a really difficult situation. But all in all, my pregnancy has been so unbelievably incredible. Very, very healthy, a really joyful experience, and I am so excited to hold my daughter in just a few weeks. I feel like this whole pregnancy has just flown by. I feel like I just told you guys I was pregnant, which I guess I did 11 weeks ago already now, but pretty recently. We kept it a secret until about halfway through. And I am just exploding with love and with excitement. I'm starting to gather all of the baby things, and you guys probably could see that from my Instagram that I basically have nothing because we're staying in an Airbnb. So I'm very slowly gathering all the things together and nesting, but I'm just so excited for her to get here. We're so excited to share the growth of our beautiful family with you, and everything that I'm doing now from the commentary perspective and content creation and being here in the heart of the changes to policy that we're seeing with the Trump administration and everything happening on Capitol Hill and trying to advocate for the next generation. It feels so much more important than it ever has in all of my career. In policy, in science, in governance, and especially as a content creator. So can't wait to keep you guys in the loop on all of those things. But baby is doing fantastic. We have an ultrasound on Thursday to make sure she's still growing great. But I can tell you, because she's currently kicking my rib cage and my pelvis, she is growing quite well. Tonight is the State of the Union address. And before we get started here in just a couple of minutes rebroadcasting the speech, I thought it would be fun to talk you guys through what I'm expecting the president to address tonight during the speech, who the special guests that have been invited by the first family to the State of the Union are, and also the immediate backlash response from the left that we've seen unfold that is perhaps just the most pathetic thing I ever could have wrapped my head around in anticipation of their rebuttal to everything Donald Trump is going to say tonight. So let's jump in. This morning, I guess in a last-ditch attempt to appear more relatable to young people and to the hip American voters out there, majority of whom overwhelmingly are supportive of Donald Trump, by the way. In fact, a poll came out yesterday that 60% of Americans under 40 are overwhelmingly in support of the job performance that President Trump has had in his first month in office, which is unprecedented, right? And also a big fat I told you so to every single person who laughed me off of your cable news station back in March when my book came out, The End of the Alphabet, How Gen Z Can Save America. Yeah, we're saving America. Just, you're welcome, by the way. But in this last-ditch attempt to try to debunk Donald Trump and appear cool to the American people, the Senate Democrats' Instagram account went out of their way to post the exact same video. The exact same video 20 plus times in a row. And it's continuing to go as of the time of recording this at around 1 p.m. So I'm pretty sure they're going to do it for every single Senate Democrat currently in the United States Senate. We posted this reel earlier today on Instagram and as a TikTok video, but just take a look at exactly what you'd expect the left to say ahead of tonight's speech.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard.
That ain't true. That's what you just saw.
That ain't true. That's what you just saw.
Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down, they're up.
Inflation
is getting worse.
Prices of groceries,
cost of groceries,
gas,
housing,
eggs,
even
it's not
eggs.
getting better, it's getting worse.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile, Donald Trump has done nothing to lower costs for you.
Instead, he's pardoned all the violent criminals who beat the Capitol Police on January 6th.
Violent criminals who savagely beat police officers on January 6th.
to beat police officers on January 6th.
Instead, he's done things like pardon violent criminals who beat police officers on January 6th.
Effing disgrace.
He's
letting
letting
Elon
Elon
Musk take a
chainsaw
to
to
vital
government
programs
and
And he's
then
giving him
worse,
access
Giving
to
access
Americans.
Americans
to America's most
sensitive data.
sensitive data.
And that's the truth.
And that is the truth.
That is the truth.
That is the truth.
I have so many questions for these people, to be honest. It's so surreal to me that they genuinely still don't understand how the internet works, which just blows my mind, to be honest with you. Question one, why and how were they stupid enough to collaborate on Instagram with every single one of these videos? If you don't already know, collabing on Instagram basically means pushing it out to multiple accounts all at once for the same video. We collab with some of our sponsor relationships. We collab with our friends when we have them on our podcast. We do that all the time. It's a very normal thing in the creator world. But if you're trying to collab on a video, basically you're trying to put one video out to multiple accounts at the same time to make everyone watch the same video. These freaking idiots put out the same video recorded with different people 20 plus times and separately collabed with each member of Congress every time they posted it on the Senate Democrats' Instagram account this morning. Telling me you know quite literally nothing about how social media works and you are old. You're old. You are a boomer posing as a Zoomer thinking you know how to digitally communicate with the young people to be cool and hip, but it ended up just being the cringiest thing in the entire world. Who was stupid enough to pose and greenlight that idea is question one. Question two, why didn't they just make one video and have each member of the Senate Democrats coalition record a separate line? That would have been way better. And it's still using the same script. But these people are so out of touch and so unaware with where media is going and how people are consuming information that now that they missed the boat, now that they're realizing social media and independent content creation is where real Americans from across the political spectrum are at, and no one is watching cable news. This took me, by the way, total side note, tangent, back to that viral video from about a year ago, 2 years ago, that broke the internet, where basically every single local cable news station was repeating the exact same script about how our democracy is in danger. Our democracy is in danger. If you guys don't remember that, it was an absolutely horrid moment that let a lot of people peek behind the curtain that the mainstream media isn't actually reporting the news. They're just telling you what you want to hear. This was an exact carbon copy of that moment. And now that they're realizing a little too late, oops, we should probably be on Instagram and TikTok and X instead of just blindly believing the mainstream media is going to reach people anymore. They're trying to make up for it, and it's the cringiest, most pathetic, hey, what's up, fellow young kids, attempt I've ever seen from old people in my entire life. This took me right back to, does TikTok connect to the home Wi-Fi network? Gee, I don't know. Does posting the same video 22 plus times in a row resonate with young people? No. The answer's no. You idiots. And honestly, who thought this was going to make them look cool or appealing in any way, shape, or form? I love it because I'm winning and we're all winning and the American people are winning and people are waking up to just how bad, cringy, and pathetic the liars of the left who have been entrenched in these positions of power for our entire lifetime, sometimes even longer than twice our entire lifetime, really are. So keep doing this. Don't take my criticism as a sign to stop. Keep leaning into this, Senate Democrats. But God, it's just pathetic. And frankly, it's just noise. It's background noise. And it's background noise because they are fully aware of the fact that very, very soon at tonight's joint address to Congress, aka the State of the Union, there's going to be a resounding, overwhelming support for the mandate the American people gave President Trump in his overwhelming landslide victory on November 5th, Election Day, just a few months ago, and what's already been done. I was joking to a friend the other day that I honestly am laughing that this isn't called a State of the Union because he hasn't been in office very long. Because frankly, it should be. The guy has done more in like 30 days than any president in my lifetime has done throughout a 4-year term as president of the United States. I had an incredible call with the White House this morning about what we can likely expect out of the speech tonight, and just an update into everything that they have been doing and have already accomplished over the past several weeks. And I always just get chills because it is alarming to me how bad most of our politicians truly are if this was possible the entire time. It's crazy. If this was truly an option the entire time, if government competence was always on the table and no one ever remotely had the drive, the service to the American people, or the ambition to do it before, shame on us in our voting past throughout my lifetime, because we could have been in a much different circumstance as a country today than we were, particularly from the devastation of the last 4 years. But we were stupid enough to elect the wrong people. Not this time around. We elected the right man for the job, and he has been, how do I put this delicately, kicking ass in every way, shape, or form for his first month or so in office as president of the United States, beyond anyone's wildest dreams. I anticipate that will really be the resounding message from this speech tonight, that government competence is a thing, not even is back, because I don't think it ever existed throughout my lifetime, but is a thing that we can rely on, that the American people have given a mandate to the executive branch and to Congress alike to deliver on making our country a place we can be proud to call home again, to revive the American dream, which is exactly the theme of tonight's speech. And to know that these issues we deal with on a day-by-day basis, be it economic, political, cultural, social, religious, or any of the above, are things worthy of our politicians to care about, to act upon, and to make better for the American people every single day. That being said, tonight, as soon as we start the speech, we'll be able to see everything that President Trump has in store for us. But I anticipate that we're going to be hearing a lot about a few key issues based on who they have invited to be special guests of the president and the first lady tonight, based on the legislation that's currently being debated in front of Congress throughout the last couple of weeks, based on the executive orders that we saw President Trump issue right away as soon as he got into office, and generally what's been going on in the news for the past several weeks. First and foremost, the border, I'm sure, will be addressed, but probably not largely spent a lot of real estate and time on during the speech tonight, because it's been fixed, like entirely fixed. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. 20,000 plus illegal immigrants were arrested by ICE this last 30-day period. 20,000 people arrested by ICE in the last month, which is a 627% increase in monthly arrests compared to President Biden over the past 4 years, and nearly as much as the entirety of arrests done against illegal immigrants by ICE during all 4 years of Biden's presidency. Insane. And attempted illegal crossings of our southern border actually hit a record low in February. That number of migrants apprehended fell to 8,300 people in a single month. That sounds like a lot, but when you compare that to the last couple of years, that's down 94% from the over 140,000 per month that we encountered throughout the last prior years. 94% decrease in the number of people even attempting to cross the southern border. So, problem's largely been fixed, and they're still doing a lot of work to make sure that the problem is truly solved and cemented for years to come. They've restarted construction on the border wall. They're working with local law enforcement agencies across the country to enact deportations, particularly of violent criminals that have just been allowed to stay here in the United States. They're taking substantive action on stopping illegal drug trafficking. Caroline Levitt, my friend and our press secretary, shared on her Twitter this evening or earlier today that they had found enough fentanyl in this presidency already, so in about a month, to kill 4.8 billion people in the last month. Half the world's population, more than half the world's population. And something needs to be done about that. And that's exactly what they are doing with Customs and Border Patrol, with ICE, with law enforcement across the board. They've done a fantastic job. So I'm sure they'll start with that for a few minutes, but they won't actually harp on it far too much. But I do expect a whole lot to be said about a handful of social issues beyond immigration that may not go over very well with certain members of Congress based on at least their response in their preemptive rebuttal video here. And that is A, child gender transition, and B, keeping men out of women's sports. Let's start on the kids side of things. One of the very first executive orders that President Trump signed as soon as he took office was banning the surgical and chemical mutilation of kids. And I say it that way on purpose because this rebrand of messaging is exactly what the American people need to know about these barbaric practices that have been allowed to thrive for far too long in our country. What we previously have called child gender transition to seem more inclusive and progressive and loving to these people is in fact either the surgical or chemical through medication, castration and mutilation of children. We are enacting genital mutilation against children. We are rendering people infertile for the rest of their lives based on these hormone therapies and treatments that we often refer to them as. And President Trump made it a huge priority to be one of his first actions as president of the United States to say no more will we abuse children like this ever again. They tried to do that through this executive order in a number of different ways. A, through stopping Medicare funding to hospitals that allow these practices to happen. B, through halting all federal taxpayer dollars towards public entities that are allowing these things to happen, and several other endeavors as well. But truly, what really needs to happen here is an act of Congress to make sure that this executive order is cemented as legislation and truly becomes federal law. That is much more difficult to overturn should someone come into office after President Trump that wants to reinstate the surgical and chemical castration of children. Several guests have been invited by the president and the first lady tonight to address this issue and to be highlighted up in the gallery during tonight's speech, including a whistleblower doctor who exposed her hospital for enacting these practices against kids, and a mom whose daughter was being secretly transitioned at her school without any parental knowledge or consent and was truly being brainwashed by her teachers, being pushed into changing her sexual orientation and gender identity. So I'm really excited to see what the president has to say about that. Of course, we also know there's going to be a lot addressed about men in women's sports. If you guys have been keeping up with my Instagram over the past couple of weeks, I had the incredible pleasure of joining the White House at the executive order signing to keep men out of women's sports a few weeks ago. That turned into a very unexpected opportunity to collab, speaking of Instagram collabs, with the White House account and the POTUS account on Instagram. And it was just such an incredible honor to see something that amazing patriots and truth tellers like Riley Gaines and Sage Steele and Paula Scanlon have been outspoken about for years at this point, and we've tried to lend our platform to as much as possible, see all of their efforts come to fruition, and continue to tell the truth to the American people and stand up for girls and actual feminism. Because let's be honest, real feminists from decades past and eras past are rolling over in their grave about how women have been treated in athletics, in academics, and in every other space where men are expected to take over women's spaces and we're supposed to just applaud it. So that was another executive order the president issued right away as president of the United States. There is legislation currently pending in Congress to cement that as a federal law, introduced by Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama yesterday, literally 24 hours ago. Not a single Senate Democrat, not one, voted for the legislation to advance to a larger vote to keep men out of women's sports. Not one, which tells you everything you need to know about how much these people actually hate women and have extreme internalized misogyny and are expecting you to call that feminism. There are many guests who have been invited by the president and first lady and several members of Congress to the State of the Union tonight, including Riley Gaines, invited by Speaker Johnson's office, and some athletes that have been victimized by men taking over women's sports, including a beautiful young woman who actually received a traumatic brain injury during a volleyball game after being spiked the ball into her face from a male competitor posing as a female. So I anticipate the president is likely going to rail against these Senate Democrats for their very cowardly lack of support for women's sports that happened merely 24 hours ago, and calling for congressional legislation to be passed on that issue as well. Those big social issues, what men and women's sports and protecting women's only spaces, and ending child gender transition, or what we are now calling the surgical and chemical mutilation of kids, I think are the biggest social issues and human rights issues of our time, with only a handful of others sprinkled in there, and I'm sure will get substantial attention during tonight's State of the Union address. Of course, we're also going to hear a whole lot about tariffs and explaining why tariffs are necessary, explaining how they're going to offset your cost of living as an American citizen by paying less taxes, and helping to revive the job market by bringing American jobs and manufacturing back to our country. Just yesterday or today, I don't know, pregnancy brain, 25% tariffs were placed on Mexico and Canada, and the media is kind of freaking out about this and painting this as a total doom and gloom scenario. But I anticipate there will be a lot of explanation by the president for that tonight, and explaining how that impacts you as a singular American citizen and what you can expect for prices, income, taxes, etc. after the fact. Meanwhile, Honda, Apple, and Mercedes-Benz, among many other companies, have already announced that because of tariffs, they're going to be bringing all of their manufacturing back to the United States, or at least a huge chunk of it. So it already kind of seems to be working, at least what President Trump sought out to accomplish. And I think having an explanation from the president to the American people that can't really be spun by the media or cringy scripted Instagram reels from Senate Democrats will be an amazing place for people to understand what the vision is for that moving forward. And then there's some surprising things that I think we might expect to hear tonight out of the guests that were invited. There's a young woman named Elliston Berry who was invited by the First Lady of the United States to attend the speech tonight, who was a victim of deepfake pornography videos being used to bully her in her high school. Horribly tragic story, but the First Lady announced yesterday that this was going to be an initiative she was enveloping into her Be Best program, which was an anti-bullying initiative and education initiative for children in the last Trump administration, but that she really wants to take action on deepfake technology and specifically child pornography at the intersection of deepfake technology, to protect the innocence of kids and to end bullying. So perhaps there's a chance we could hear the president make a call to end pornography or restrict it significantly in America, which would be a dream come true, frankly. We've been talking about the dangers of pornography and how truly insane the damage to our society has been from this industry for years here on the Isabel Brown Show. I would be very excited to hear that. Doge is making huge waves, and we already know has saved the American people over $105 billion in taxpayer money over the past several months, or several weeks rather. We haven't even been in office several months, but has already saved American taxpayers $105 billion plus from the efforts that they have taken to slash unnecessary government spending and programs. Obviously, the media is spinning this as a mass firing of federal workers, and it's this horrible treatment of people. There will be a whole lot of reckoning to come from all of that, but I think will be an amazing opportunity tonight during the speech for the president to talk about the insane programs that they've cut, like LGBTQ musicals in South America and Sesame Street in Iran, and just the whole insane lineup of things that Doge has been working on for the past several years, and probably will announce that as part of Doge, huge parts of the federal government budget are going to be slashed. I'm holding out for a potential shout out to ending our federal funding to Planned Parenthood, either as part of Doge or as part of our health initiatives. I certainly think that could be enveloped into the conversation of child gender transition, because as you guys know, we talk about it all the time, and I need your help getting this message out there to people. Planned Parenthood is actually the #2 provider of cross-sex hormones in the United States. They enveloped a whole new business strategy after the Dobbs v. Jackson case that overturned Roe v. Wade, and they saw some of their finances start to dwindle with the abolition of abortion in many states across the country. So they too are largely contributing to child mutilation, not surgical so much, but the chemical mutilation and castration of children. Perhaps that's a good angle for how we can defund Planned Parenthood. And beyond that, I have zero expectations because, frankly, this whole presidency, I have had zero expectations. This man wakes up every day and delivers a year's worth of news to us in about 30 minutes. I genuinely cannot keep up. I'm even here in Washington, D.C. I'm in and out of the White House. I'm in and out of Capitol Hill regularly, multiple times a week. And my brain cannot keep up with the amount of information that is being shared every day. We're trying to do our best to deliver that to you in a timely, authentic, transparent manner, which is why we are back, baby, with the show. We are back with live reactions. We are back with long-form interviews, including with a whole lot of people in positions of importance in our government. That's all I'm going to say for the next couple weeks until we get to tell you guys more. But I could not be more excited to be back with you tonight in anticipation of the State of the Union address. If you guys are just now joining us and you didn't hear me say this earlier already, this part of the show is pre-recorded because as we speak, I am racing against traffic to get back to my Airbnb here in Washington, D.C. in anticipation of the speech tonight. I was invited by Speaker Johnson's office to be in Statuary Hall, which is the hallway that everybody walks through to get to the House of Representatives chamber for the speech tonight and cover this as a content creator with only 2 other people. They're both amazing people, David Harris Jr. and Ryan McEnany, which I'm so excited to see them tonight, both wonderful friends of mine. And can't wait to share with you guys our content from there. We will be showing you the speech here in just a moment as soon as it begins by replaying the C-SPAN broadcast. I probably won't make the very beginning of the speech. I'll be racing against time, the clock, and traffic. But as soon as I get back for the stream, you'll see me pop up in the corner, and then we'll be doing our live reaction as we usually do every single year for SOTU. So happy to be back with you guys. Welcome back to the Isabel Brown Show. And stay tuned for the beginning of President Trump's first joint address to Congress / State of the Union here in just a few minutes.
90 minutes.
In 1966, moved the speech from the mid-afternoon to the evening, you know, in order to catch a better audience. And that was 1966. I mean, he saw that, you know, television helped his predecessor, John F. Kennedy, get elected, and he wanted Lyndon Johnson.
Members of the committee on the part of the House to escort the President of the United States into the chamber the following: the gentleman from Louisiana, Mr. Scalise; the gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer; The gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McClain. The gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Reschenthaler. The gentleman from Utah, Mr. Moore. The gentlewoman from Indiana, Mrs. Houchin. The gentleman from Oklahoma, Mr. Hearn. The gentleman from New York, Mr. Jeffries. The gentlewoman from Massachusetts, Ms. Clark. The gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar. The gentleman from California, Mr. Liu. The gentleman from Colorado, Mr. Neguse. The gentlewoman from Washington, Ms. Delbene. The gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. Dingell.
The President of the Senate, at the direction of that body, appoints the following senators as members of the committee on the part of the Senate to escort the President of the United States into the House chamber. The Senator from South Dakota, Mr. Thune. The Senator from Wyoming, Mr. Barrasso. The Senator from Arkansas, Mr. Cotton. The Senator from Oklahoma, Mr. Lankford. The Senator from West Virginia, Mrs. Capito. The Senator from South Carolina, Mr. Scott. The Senator from New York, Mr. Schumer. The Senator from Illinois, Mr. Durbin. The Senator from Minnesota, Ms. Klobuchar. The Senator from New Jersey, Mr. Booker. The Senator from Wisconsin, Ms. Baldwin.
The members of the escort committee will exit the chamber through the lobby doors.
Speaker, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps.
Jonathan Jackson. There. Penguin doesn't go. Penguin doesn't. Did he dress us up okay? My wife loves this gray suit. I hate it. I don't wear it. She'll see me on TV. I'm a blazer, man.
And we're about 5-10 minutes away from the president entering the chamber and beginning his speech. Jasmine Wright, Jason Dick, we've been watching this, chatting amongst ourselves. Is there anything that we can share that we were talking about?
I think one thing that I'm noticing is a difference between the way that former Vice President Harris and Speaker Mike Johnson were talking last year versus now. I mean, it's so much more jovial with Vice President Vance and Speaker Johnson than it was. It's so much more kind of homeboy. These people know each other and they're kind of on the same side. It's just interesting to watch the differences, you know, just a year.
Would you call Harris and Johnson formal?
Associate Justices of the United States Supreme Court.
That's great.
Jason Dick, we were just watching the Supreme Court come in. We saw Justice Roberts, Kavanaugh, Barrett, Kagan, and we did not see Justices Brown, Jackson, Sotomayor, Alito, Gorsuch, Thomas.
We did
we
see,
did see Anthony Kennedy, too.
Retired Justice Anthony Kennedy.
Does that tell you anything, that just 4 out of the 5? Four out of the 9? Or
so, I mean, Justice Alito has been skipping this for quite a few years after, like sort of some of his motions and kind of mouthings kind of caught the cameras during one of Barack Obama's addresses. Thomas has also skipped quite a few lately. And it's not surprising to me, because I do think that some people are feeling like that they don't have to be there. They've done this before. A lot of them have done this before, even for people who have are relatively new.
But not necessarily. You don't see this necessarily as a protest by 2 of the Democratic appointed justices, Brown, Jackson, and Sotomayor.
It could.
And you can see
could,
Justice Roberts and Kagan.
Yeah, I mean, the Supreme Court is a very tight group. They're very close. They spend a lot of time around one another. Whether or not it's a protest or whether it's just, I think I want to just catch up on Black Doves on Netflix. It might be that too.
I had a reservation I couldn't miss at the local eatery.
Yeah, it is Mardi Gras. Maybe they're at Dauphine in downtown.
Jasmine, right, when we were talking, you were talking about J.D. Vance and Mike Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the question before we got interrupted, which was, would you consider the Harris-Johnson relationship formal?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'm not even sure I would call it a relationship. Those are 2 people that didn't really know each other, that didn't really talk. It was these moments in which they kind of interfaced a lot more after Johnson became Speaker, and obviously the Vice President was on her 4th year of being the Vice President. I believe that Johnson was asked later on in an interview what they talked about, and he said, we made niceties. We didn't talk about politics. We talked about things that 2 humans talk about. I am not sure that is the case right now with J.D. Vance and Johnson. I think that they're talking pretty frequently. J.D. Vance was at the Capitol earlier today for a confirmation hearing for one of the people nominated to join the FBI, one of his longtime friends. And so I think that they're continuously having conversations in a way that Johnson wasn't having with the previous administration.
We have about a minute and a half before William McFarland, the House Sergeant at Arms, is scheduled to announce Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States, etc. What are you listening for in tonight's speech, Jason Dick?
Mainly about the border. I mean, I think that there is going to be a lot of discussion about immigration and the border. Trump has always felt that this is the winning issue for him. I think that it's going to be a big part of things.
Jasmine, right?
The economy. I mean, this tariffs move that happened, overnight into today. Obviously, there's some thinking that maybe they would, pull back the tariffs or bring it down to a lower percentage. But people are concerned about the economy. They're giving Trump some more time, but people are concerned. And so I want to hear how he not just blames the Biden administration, but how he talks about it moving forward.
Well, later tonight, Howard Lutnick, the new Commerce Secretary, made a statement.
Yeah, he said that.
What should we be listening for?
Well, he said that they had been on the phone with both their Mexican and Canadian counterparts trying to make a deal, and that President Trump may announce, if not here, maybe tomorrow, that they are pulling back some of the tariffs, not completely letting them go, but certainly pulling them back as long as these countries say and then become more forceful on issues like fentanyl, on issues that the reason why that these tariffs are put in place. But I think it's just the reality is that Trump saw the stock markets. He is somebody who follows the stock markets. He follows them quite religiously, and they were going back and forth, really kind of freaking out negatively about these tariffs. And so I don't think that the White House will be able to say quite credibly that that wasn't the reason, or that wasn't a reason as to why they're kind of saying we're going to pull these back. But certainly only time will tell what percentage that is, how much that is, and whether or not they still do reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd.
Then Nydia Velázquez, a Democrat of New York, talking with Nancy Pelosi there, both long-term members. I apologize for not recognizing your face. There are 62 new members of Congress. Nearly 20% of the Congress is new. And so that's a lot of new members, and I'm not quite sure who that one was. I think we've had a pretty good batting record.
Yes,
80%, haven't we?
Oh, I think more than that.
And Melania Trump, who was on Capitol Hill yesterday as well. Was that a surprise to you down at the White House that she came down? Here comes Mrs. Trump. She's sitting with her guests. Greta gave us her guests earlier. They include some revenge porn victims, the Comparatory family that was, the father was killed in Butler, Pennsylvania. So she's sitting with her guests there.
Lincoln Riley family is
That's
there.
right. That's right.
To answer your question, I wasn't surprised to see her. I mean, I think those were her first public remarks since Donald Trump took office. There were some questions about how much she would be in Washington, how frequently she'd be around. But I think that there's a real shift in energy, not just from the president, but also from her office, trying to do things much differently this time around.
Mr. Speaker, the President's Cabinet.
That's true. I should have done better. I should have done way better.
And now the cabinet is coming in. Secretary of State Rubio, Secretary of the Treasury Bessent. We saw there as well Attorney General Pam Bondi. Pete Hegseth was there. Mr. Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary, who we talked about a little bit earlier. RFK Jr., of course, HHS. There's Scott Turner. HUD. There's Seth Duffy. I'm so sorry, Sean Duffy. Transportation. There's Senator Adam Schiff, sitting with a senator from... Yep, the new senator from Delaware, Lisa Blunt Rochester. We had Carol from Illinois, Carol Mosley Braun. We have Angela Alsobrooks, Maryland.
Kamala Harris was the second.
Kamala Harris, of course, and then Lisa
Angela
Blunt Rochester.
Alsobrooks, yes.
Yeah.
Interchangeably 3 or 2.
And there's Kristi Noem, who's... She was talking there with the, is that the congressman from New Jersey, Jeff?
Tim Burchett. That's Tim Burchett from Tennessee.
There we go. Is that Brooke Rollins, the Ag Secretary? Yeah.
It is sort of odd to have something like this with, I mean, there's so much, we're paying attention to the fashion because of like some of the protests and so forth, having just done the Oscars 2 nights ago. It's not quite as glamorous.
Not quite the same.
Not quite the same.
But there is a lot more power.
I would simply say, Jason, Dick, that nobody in the world cares what you or I are wearing. Last year, Joe Biden took at least a half hour to get out of the chamber. It was a moment for him politically that boosted him.
Yeah.
That got rid of some of the rumors of mental decline, etc. And he worked that room for a half an hour. It was one of the most, in a sense, iconic things I've ever seen in politics.
Yeah.
And do we expect President Trump to do the same, or I don't know?
I don't know if
he likes to chat.
I don't know if President Trump will be there as long. I mean, in that span, Joe Biden had like 2 hot mic moments that went viral. I mean, he was there for forever. I don't know if you expect President Trump to be there that long. But the reality is that as I've talked to people close to him, he is enjoying this moment. He's happy to be back in the White House. He's happy to have a party that responds to him, that respects him. And he's happy, back to being the center of everything. And so I think you're going to see him show that happiness, shaking hands with his friends, shaking hands, potentially people who don't like him very much, Democrats, kind of pushing them to say something, potentially. He's kind of reveling in this moment that he has now that he's back in the White House. And so I think he is going to be there a long time. Whether or not he's there as long as Joe Biden, I think only time will tell, because Joe Biden, I remember being there, covering it last year and being like, dang, can you leave? I'm trying to go home. So
It did have an end of the night at your high school reunion type vibe.
It's like, wrap it up, Joe. So we'll see what Donald Trump does.
Yeah, I would guess too that like some of that is there's a little bit of wistfulness, like that Biden was running for re-election, but who knows what kind of doubts he may have had about his own his own path. That this is like a beginning as opposed to sort of an end. Even if it seems like we've been in this loop for a while.
Yeah, you can see that the cabinet is still not completely seated, and they're not going to bring him in while there's still people in the aisles, but he is nearby. He's in the holding room next to the chamber and should be coming in shortly. Just want to remind our viewers, obviously we're going to shut up as soon as the president gets in there. We're going to listen to everything that happens. We'll watch the president leave the room, all without us. There's Tulsi Gabbard, of course, talking with Chip Roy.
Kelly Loeffler, the SBA.
Yeah, that's right. Former senator from Georgia, RFK. I haven't seen RFK Jr. talk to a lot of people. I don't know if that's
I saw him talk to
anything.
Jeff Van Drew, and
Okay.
I wonder if it was a conversation about fluoride. Who knows? Because Jeff Van Drew is a dentist.
Is he really? Did not know that.
fantastic.
Did not know that. So.
RFK is having quite the moment right now too, with this measles outbreak, kind of going back and forth between whether or not he should be promoting vaccines, whether or not he should be promoting more homeopathic remedies that aren't necessarily shown to have much weight against a measles outbreak. I would be interested to see if Donald Trump brings that up. I'd be a little shocked if he does, but
Again, the entire speech, of course, and the Democratic response. Senator Alyssa Slotkin, freshman Democrat from Michigan, will be speaking from Michigan, and we will bring that to you live, of course. And as always, after all that, we're going to get your reaction. We're going to get your reaction. Greta's going to be here getting reaction from members and some of the play out from the speech, etc. And before the president comes in, let's check in one more time with Greta.
Quick excerpt from the president's speech tonight on tariffs. You guys were talking about that and the impact of it on the economy. This is from Jake Sherman. Whatever they tariff us, we tariff them. Whatever they tax us, we tax them. And if they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. So you can expect to hear some tough talk from the president tonight on that. That is ahead of the markets closing tonight. CNBC with this headline: Dow tumbles again, loses more than 1,300 points in 2 days as Trump ignites trade war. Peter?
Esmond Wright, you were talking exactly about that.
yeah, it is going to be incumbent upon the president to have the American people understand why he's putting in place these tariffs that in a lot of ways have a negative connotation even amongst people within his own party. They're not necessarily one of those quote unquote conservative values. It's something that even as lawmakers publicly say we are okay with giving Trump the latitude on tariffs, certainly privately they're concerned about them. They don't like them. And so I think that he's going to have to explain why. Of course, he says that tariffs are his fourth favorite word in the dictionary. It used to be his first. I would be surprised if he does not repeat that again in an ad lib. But yeah, I think that tariffs are going to be a large part of this.
For viewers who are seeing a State of the Union or a joint session for the first time, On your screen, the Republicans will be on the left, and the Democrats will be on the right, so you can always tell what the applause lines are by which side stands up, and it gets pretty stark at times, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And I mean, another thing that I'm looking for, in addition to just some of the policy notes that we're looking at, is just how the Democrats are going to approach things that they feel are a winner for them. Whether it's something, if Trump does talk about tariffs, and he does talk about like how great they are, we're seeing again, as you mentioned, Jasmine, the market does not like them. The Wall Street Journal editorial page doesn't like them. This is kind of across the board, and the economy over and over again came up as the number one issue people are worried about. But he's also going to go for some base issues, like transgender, issues. How is that going to be? How is that going to be presented? But how
Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, the First Lady of the United States, members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable, and our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it. The presidential election of November 5th was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country. And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27-point swing, the most ever. Small business optimism saw its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber. Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and taken more than 400 executive actions, a record, to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers, drug dealers, gang members, and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way. So Democrats sitting before me, for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again. Every day, my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term. And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job. And we have ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back. And 2 days ago, I signed an order making English the official language of the United States of America. I renamed the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. And likewise, I renamed, for a great president, William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female. I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding. And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. My administration is also working on a gigantic natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, GOG. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight. Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that. Just listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. You know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education. The most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. And we've taken back the money and reduced our debt to fight inflation and other things. Taken back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them. And we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid and nobody does. And it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby. Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229, one person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age. More than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going, and it's not going to be pretty. By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it. With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk-takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax. Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors. And I also want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car is made in America. And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever seen. Plants are opening up all over the place. Deals are being made. Never seen. That's a combination of the election win and tariffs. It's a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all three, the top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world. And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country. In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country. First term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer. Thanks to our America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA. And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's very amazing. You should get rid of the CHIP Act, and whatever's left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to. Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer. Who will now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies. They're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it, and it hurt our farmers. But our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us. Very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much. And I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States. Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by 2 impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John. Thank you, John. Thank you all very much. Thank you. And thank you to John Thune and the Senate. Great job. To criminalize the publication of such images online is a terrible, terrible thing. And once it passes the House, I look forward to signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast. And I want to thank Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to. Last year, a brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren.
Hey guys, back from the hill in our makeshift home studio here in my Airbnb. I'm temporarily living room. It's very fun, very fun. Love seeing the president shout out Laken Riley's family.
Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act. It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much.
Could you imagine being one of the people who didn't?
Since
clap
taking
for that?
office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history.
Here we go.
And we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you.
He's going to talk about this for about 30 seconds because he's already fixed the problem, which is wild. Not a single Democrat opposed that.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
This man is holding nothing back tonight. He is just ripping into these people, which I'm all about, frankly. Can you imagine that group of people?
Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America.
Fixing our audio for you guys. I think we should be able to hear okay.
But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered.
Gosh.
Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order?
Wow. Stop it. Signing an executive order for this beautiful little girl. Oh, dear, it is difficult to watch this.
Thank you very much. All 3 savages charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world.
My husband made me dinner.
Known
Very
as
sweet.
Tren de Aragua.
Thank you.
2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations.
Again, imagine not clapping for that. Look at these people. There's a few. There's a few. Wow.
They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them. Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much.
I know with every State of the Union, and this is a joint address, not the State of the Union, but with every State of the Union, they have these guests and they tell real people's stories. But is it just me, or is the energy so tangible at this one?
And I
about
actually
real
got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war in America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we
Amen. A freaking men. There's a handful of them thinking about clapping, maybe. But imagine not cheering for that.
5 nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into the USA. They're going to stop it. I have sent Congress a detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record holder President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it. And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns.
No clapping on that side of the room.
Our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam Bond. Good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash.
So excited to see him in at the FBI. So excited.
They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice. 1 year ago this month, 31-year-old New York police officer Jonathan Diller, unbelievably wonderful person and a great officer, was gunned down at a traffic stop on Long Island. I went to his funeral. The vicious criminal charged with his murder had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much,
She's
Stephanie.
beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Oh, all these families that have lost people. It's incredible to know that this administration is speaking up for them, giving them a voice. That's powerful. Wow.
Stephanie, we're going to make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer. And tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law.
Wow. That's big. That'll be controversial.
I'm also asking for a new crime bill getting tough on repeat offenders while enhancing protections for America's police officers so they can do their jobs without fear of their lives being totally destroyed. They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed.
Some protests, maybe?
Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer.
This is so sweet. Oh. Oh. Oh.
But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago.
Wow.
Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer actually a number of times. The police love him. The police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Look how excited he is. Okay, my mom heart could not handle this right now. But this is the type of man that our president is, that you will never see on the mainstream media, ever. This is the type of stuff he does every day at the White House, and it's never covered. So I love that this made this into the speech. Wow. Wow.
Thank you, DJ. DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%.
Here we go.
Maha. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Wow. This will be telling. This next segment on Maha is huge.
With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been cheering. How quickly they forget. Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago, and you can't even believe these numbers, 1 in 10,000 children had autism, 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby? Good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you.
What an amazing man. I cannot wait to see what he accomplishes.
Thank you.
As our HHS
My
secretary.
administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in
Here
our
we go.
schools. A few years ago, January, Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly, socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is big. He's going to call on Congress to legislatively ban child gender transition. Listen up right here.
Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology.
Huge. Huge.
I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth.
Do we expect a walkout or a protest
I want
here?
Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie.
This is huge.
And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
As a mom, this just makes tears come to my eyes because people are finally paying attention to what kids have been dealing with for decades. And our politicians didn't care.
We're getting out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better?
Yes.
Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations.
He's shaking things up over at DOD. Very exciting to see.
And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services. What a difference.
They're not a very lively bunch over there in the military, but you do see some smiles in there.
And you know, it was just a few months ago where the results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a tremendous turnaround. It's really a beautiful thing to see. People love our country again. It's very simple. They love our country, and they love being in our military again. So it's a great thing, and thank you very much. Great job. Thank you.
We love. It was all those pro-USA edits on TikTok.
By a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a 6-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point.
The kids are all right. I meet more young men like this every day. Good for him. That's awesome.
And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets.
I love this. Kid after kid after kid they've invited. They're just blowing these kids' minds. I mean, this is what governance is supposed to be. This is service to the American people. It's like freaking Christmas morning for all these kids. Ugh. Wow. What a cool way to find out you got into West Point.
Jason, you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA.
That's going to be the U.S.'s version of the Iron Dome, the technology that Israel has.
And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places, they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too. Right, Tim? Right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding.
We're just manufacturing everything, it seems. Microchips to military ships.
I'm announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it.
There's a lot of angry looks on one side of the room
Just today,
there.
a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others, but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1. But that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
All right, all right. We'll take it.
And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes, and I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic
Little
job.
bipartisanship there. We love that.
He's doing a great job. Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland.
Oh, boy.
We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
Wow. That's quite the development.
And I want to thank especially the government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster. This was a very momentous day for those 13 families who I actually got to know very well, most of them, whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown that when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords.
I'll be anxious to see what the new version of the Abraham Accords will look like if they continue to further that objective. I think they will. They weren't intended to be done in the first term anyway. So this will be interesting.
And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything.
You think he brings up Zelensky in the Oval? I guess we'll see.
Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans. But I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us.
All these
that
people
didn't happen.
wearing Ukraine
Earlier
colors.
today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Interesting how that comes to fruition hours after you stood back up to him. And notice who isn't applauding
Wouldn't that be
about
beautiful?
wanting peace. Just throwing that out there.
It's time to stop this madness. It's time to halt the killing. It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight.
She looks amazing for 95. Can we just put that out there? But it's great to see him on the guest list tonight for the State of the Union. This is awesome. Pencil neck is not happy about that.
To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I?
Oh my
Never
gosh.
forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors, we thought they were gone and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their 2 beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you.
Wow. Terrible tragedy. That's horrible.
To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his 3 beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that.
Amen. He speaks with such increasing conviction on that every time he addresses it. Whether you buy his story of faith or not, a lot of people don't. I do. Because his sincerity in that statement gets more and more tangible every single time he talks about it.
Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon, Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age, these workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities, these warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty, and it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years, we are going to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization ever to exist on the face of this earth. We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
Chills at this. This is clearly the end of the speech, but chills. If that doesn't make you excited about the next 4 years, I don't know what else could.
And
this
through
is
it
so
all,
well
we
written.
are going to rediscover the unstoppable power of the American spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve.
Wow. Beetlejuice in the chat says this is JFK vibes. It is. This is ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. And I think this speech will live on
My
with
fellow
that type of
Americans,
legacy.
get ready for an incredible future because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
There you have it. The golden age of America. Wow, we're upside down. Why did OBS do this to us? Hang on 2 seconds. That's what happens when you leave your setup for like 2 seconds. Pause for dramatic effect. Maybe it'll let us fix this. What the heck, you guys? Well, it's not letting us fix it. That's fun. Hang on. Don't die. Don't get vertigo. This is what happens when you go across town. Ha! We fixed it. Sorry about that. The golden age of America has only just begun. I truly could not be more in awe of everything that has already been accomplished in this first month. The fact that it is March 4th and President Trump was inaugurated on January 20th, and every one of those things has already been accomplished, blows my mind. Exceeds every single one of my expectations. I said earlier today, and you guys heard me say this already tonight, I didn't even realize that government competence was a thing, was an option, was something on the table the entire time during my lifetime. Everybody jokes about how accurate Ron Swanson is about everything because there is no such thing as government competence. That's the greatest joke of all time. Apparently there was this whole time. And we had no realm of concept for just how amazing good governance could be with someone who isn't afraid to tell it like it is, who isn't afraid to stand up to those taking advantage of you as an individual taxpayer and an individual American citizen, who isn't afraid to challenge people in entrenched positions of power, taking advantage of the system and personally profiting from it, who isn't afraid to put his own life on the line, to fight on the shoulders of giants for every generation that came before us and for every generation still yet to come in the United States of America. Chills. I am so privileged and so excited to be here in Washington, D.C. at the forefront of all of this over the next few years. If you guys joined later in the stream and you missed our fun announcement at the beginning of the show, I moved, and we forgot to tell you where we moved a few weeks ago. Surprise, we moved to Washington, D.C. so that we can be right here in the heart of everything as it continues to unfold. And to see even in the last 40 days or so, the opportunities that have already been given to independent content creators to amplify the voice of the president, to share what's truly happening from the inside of government out, and to give you guys an authentic viewpoint into who our leaders really are, to humanize them and demystify some of this a bit, is the honor and privilege and opportunity of a lifetime. I am so grateful to the president's team for opening the doors of the White House back to we the people and to independent media. And we have a whole lot of surprises coming your way for long-form podcast interviews with some very, very exciting people inside of the White House and the executive branch at large. You guys already saw last week we were in the Oval Office on Thursday with the president and the vice president of the United States and had a chance to meet almost every single cabinet secretary and sit down with Secretary Rubio. We sat down with Secretary Kennedy, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel. It is an incredibly exciting time to be making these connections. And I know you guys have very highly requested every single one of them for long form interviews. We are working on that and getting all of those things scheduled for the next few weeks. And if you were following along tonight, and as I already told you, I raced across traffic to join you back here on the stream tonight after being in the Capitol building for tonight's State of the Union, thanks to an incredibly generous invitation from Speaker of the House Mike Johnson to 3 or 4 creators who were there tonight in totality in the entire building. We live streamed Statuary Hall on our Instagram. to show you guys everybody as they were arriving and give you a behind the scenes look into everything. And I'm having breakfast with the speaker this week as well, which is very exciting. So we were working on getting some legislative side interviews scheduled for you guys here on the Isabel Brown Show so that you can get a sneak peek into what Congress is up to as well. But across the board, there is just such an energy shift happening in Washington, D.C. And all of that, 100% of that, is thanks to you. Because for the first time in modern American history, we have the opportunity as we the people to tell those in positions of power how we want them to serve us, how we want to get information about what they're doing, and to reclaim the narrative for authentic, honest media again. In no way, shape, or form over the next year, with all of the opportunities we're going to be given, am I ever going to pretend that I am an unbiased journalist. And I want to say that up front before we get well into the weeds in the next few months of all of the crazy stuff that we have planned. We're always going to be honest with you about where our opinion is coming from. But the important part is the first part of that sentence. We're always going to be honest with you. We're going to give you a peek behind the curtain into what is happening on Capitol Hill, into what's being discussed at the Supreme Court of the United States, and up close and personal with everything happening at the White House with Trump 47 and the incredible Trump administration, dedicated, incredible public servants that have all come back to Washington, D.C. to be a part of building the American dream for the future, of renewing the promises that our country was built upon to be we the people first. All of that is going to be happening on the show. And again, I apologize for the insanity of the last few weeks that we've gone pretty much dark here on long form content. Between being 8 months pregnant, we are getting very, very close to the end here. A move across the country, a new job for my husband, and trying to find a beautiful house to live in, which we're still somewhat in limbo on. It's been absolutely crazy. I can't promise we're always going to have our beautiful home studio set up or perfect internet until we are moved into our new house a couple of weeks from now, but I can promise you this: we are going to be here through every authentic, grassroots, honest, what you see is what you get step of the journey. And we are going to be so excited to taking you guys along with us every step of the way. If you are new to the channel and you haven't already hit follow or subscribe, please do so. We have some amazing interviews that we can't wait to share with you guys here in the next couple of days and weeks. And if you have any guest recommendations or asks of us, since pretty much nothing is off limits, which is crazy for me to even say that, make sure you comment that on this live stream after the post stays up, so that we can go out of our way to schedule the members of Congress that you want to hear from, any members of the executive branch, anybody working at the White House. We have some pretty amazing once-in-a-lifetime chances to get things on the calendar right now in the next couple of months. So if there's anyone that you want to hear from or any questions you want us to ask of any particular person, just let us know in a DM, an email, a comment on any one of these videos, and you guys can be a part of this journey as we seek the truth from our elected officials as well. All of that to be said, it's 11 p.m. This baby is incredibly hungry, so your girl is about to devour a breakfast sandwich. Thank you to her husband who made that for her in the middle of the night. And we cannot wait to see you guys back for our next episode of the Isabel Brown Show soon. I love you all so very much. Thank you for being here. Keep seeking truth. Let's keep being a part of honest media as it continues to impact our country for the better and our world for the better in the next several years. And happy almost Ash Wednesday. That's tomorrow, by the way. So if you haven't made a plan to go to church, tomorrow's a pretty important day. Hopefully I will see some of you guys there. Have a great, fantastic night, and let's fight to renew the American dream.